So you probably clicked on this video because you've been recently diagnosed with Crohn's and your doctors are telling you that the only way to treat it is through medication, biologicals, and other pharmaceuticals. I was told that too, but I'm here to tell you that there is hope and there are answers. Today I want to share with you the 3 main ways that I have been treating my Crohn's naturally for 3 years now since my diagnosis. Make sure you stick around for the last one because I think it's the most important whether you take medications or not. And just a little disclaimer, I am not a medical professional. I have not had any medical training. So this is just my experience and what I have learned that has helped me so far. With all that said, let's jump in. So here's my story. Back in 2021, I was diagnosed with Crohn's, but I know now that I would have had Crohn's even as a preteen and teen. From a young age, I had major stomach issues, anemia, depression, and a lot of exhaustion. My mom took me to the doctor many times, and the doctors just really had a hard time knowing what was going on. I was put on iron supplements, and we kind of figured out that I was sensitive to gluten or wheat, and that's what often gave me stomach aches. So for the majority of my teen years, I ate gluten-free, and I was fairly healthy. Like had energy for the most part. I would have these times where I would get really tired and low energy, and often my iron was low as well. In my later teen years, I decided to add wheat back in, and I didn't have any problem with it, and I was able to eat normally, so to speak, for the next few years without much issue. Fast forward to 2021, I thought I had caught a really bad stomach bug that I was just having a really hard time kicking. There was a stomach bug going around, and it could have been the thing that kind of tripped everything up, but it was not a stomach bug. I don't know why, but I just ignored the symptoms for like 2 weeks. I was going to the bathroom like 10 times, up to 10 times a day sometimes. It was pretty miserable. Then I started noticing very weirdly that every evening I was getting a low-grade fever, and that was really odd to me. I kept treating it like a stomach bug of some kind, but I just simply wasn't really getting better. And the final wake-up call for me was that I woke up one morning and I couldn't walk with a lot of pain. I was fine if I didn't move, but in my lower belly, if I walked, it hurt so bad. And so I finally decided that it was time I go into the emergency room and see what's going on. So I called my mom to take me into the ER. We went in. I expected them to put me on some kind of antibiotics and say that I had just some kind of inflammation going on and some kind of stomach bug, and that it would just resolve with antibiotics or something like that. Well, instead they admitted me and they said, "You have a ton of inflammation in your pelvis." So over the course of the next 2 weeks, I was in the hospital from I think 6 or 7 days, not at the same time. And by the end of that, they had diagnosed me with Crohn's after doing a colonoscopy and endoscopy. During that time, the doctors told me over and over and over again that there is no way that you can ever treat Crohn's naturally, that you have to take pharmaceuticals, immune blockers, all those things. However, I was not excited when I looked over the list of possible things that could happen by taking those things. Also, like, how can it be good for you to block your whole immune system to try to heal your body? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. So that led me on a journey of learning to treat this naturally. Like I said, I have no medical training. This is just stuff that I have researched and found that has worked for me. What you find that will work for you will probably not be the same as me, but I hope that what you learn from what I have to share today, that it can be something that can help you and give you some direction. So the first way I started treating Crohn's was through diet. I already knew that wheat was a trigger food for me because of my experience as a teen and knowing that that helped my symptoms out a lot. But to make it simple, what I did first was to identify 10 to 15 safe foods that I knew that I felt really good on and that my stomach was okay with. Now, I'm talking about whole foods that are not processed, that type of thing. And these things will be different for everyone. The things that work for me may not work for you. So some of my safe foods are things like chicken, cooked chicken in different ways, white rice, and eggs, and raw dairy like raw milk, and then raw homemade yogurt that I made from that milk. Also some bananas and some cheese was fine. So what I did was basically take my list of 10 to 15 foods and ate only those things for a few weeks after I was in a flare to help me get back out of a flare. That means no processed foods, only sticking to whole foods that are as close to their natural source as possible. After a few weeks, I would start adding new foods in slowly so I can tell how my stomach would react to it. So oatmeal was one of the first things I added back in, and my stomach would be able to handle that. And so I kept going forward, adding, say, blueberries in next, and going through that way to eliminate anything that could irritate my stomach. So currently, now that I'm not in a flare, I eat more of a maintenance diet. And for me, this is what that looks like. I eat a lot of whole foods. I cook at home. I eat organic as much as possible. I eat very little processed food. I now can also eat wheat in small amounts here and there, and I don't have any repercussions from that. I also try to eat a lot of gut healthy foods, things like water kefir, yogurt, chicken stock, and any other things that just heal the gut. I'm always a fan of. So the second way I addressed healing was through supplementation. So if I'm trying to get out of a flare, these are some things that I supplement with. I use aloe vera juice, especially to help with that gut pain. It helps so much. I also like to have a high quality protein shake available for those times when I'm not very hungry, but I know I need to give my body something to go on, and the shake is just a lot more readily absorbable to my body than whole foods. Another thing I like to use a lot is digestive enzymes. So that helps to break down my food to where my body can absorb it more, because when it's in a flare state, it has a really hard time absorbing the nutrients it needs to even heal. I do those three things in addition to what I call my maintenance supplements. Once I'm out of a flare, I have a few supplements that I take just to keep me in a good spot. The biggest one I use, and I have been absolutely amazed by, is this one called Immucalm. It's by, I think it's Dr. Christopher's. Anyways, it is a supplement. It's very inexpensive that you can get on Amazon. And all it is a proprietary blend of wild-crafted marshmallow root and organic astragalus root. And what this does, the marshmallow root helps to seal the gut, and the astragalus helps to regulate your immune system so it works like it should. So what I normally do when I'm in maintenance mode, and if I'm in a flare, doesn't matter, I take 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening before bed. Beyond the Immucalm, I also try to take a good probiotic to just help my gut, but it's not as high on my priority list as also eating gut-friendly food. I also take a really good multivitamin to help my body absorb all the nutrients it possibly can. I've also found magnesium oil helps me to sleep well and also helps to reduce stress, which we're going to talk about here next. And then lastly, I also like to try to add collagen wherever I can. So putting some collagen peptides in my tea or coffee if I'm drinking that, because that helps to seal your gut and helps you to heal. Now, there are some other random supplements I sometimes use, but those are not the regular, and these that I've mentioned before are what I take on a day-to-day basis. Now, the last way that I have addressed Crohn's, and I feel like this is the most crucial one, whether you try to treat Crohn's naturally or not, and that is through your mindset and emotions. First off, I believe you need to have it settled in your heart that your body can heal and that God is your healer. I believe we should be asking God for our healing and have faith that He is healing us and will heal us. And for some people, that means instantly. But for me, it has been a journey, and that's okay. But I still have faith that He has brought healing to my body and is continuing to do so. Secondly, you have to stop self-sabotaging and judging yourself, hating yourself, all those things. Your emotional state and how you think about yourself affects you physically. So if you are tearing yourself down in your mind, your body will also tear yourself down. This includes getting rid of people pleasing and doing things from a place of guilt and trying to please everybody and doing what they need and completely ignoring what you are supposed to be doing and what your needs are. It's hard work, the emotional side. One other part of this is that while I do say my Crohn's sometimes, I don't personally like to use that very much because I do not own this Crohn's and I want to be completely free of it. And I feel like I'm well on the way of that because I am flare free and I'm continuing to learn new tools to help me stay that way. And lastly, in this category, you need to reduce your stress. You need to learn how to say no to things. You cannot be taking on more than you should. And that is something that you and God are going to have to figure out together, what your life is supposed to look like. But if you are constantly stressed out, your body is not going to be in a good place. Our emotions, our mindsets affect us physically, whether we like it or not. And I will also say it goes the other way. When our body doesn't feel good, it also affects our emotions. So it is a two things together thing. I hope this has been helpful for you and has given you hope for your journey. I'm here. If you have any questions for me, please drop them in the comments. I would love if you would join me on this journey of learning to be healthy in a way that's not stressful and that is attainable to all of us. If you want to hear more about my journey and Crohn's and all that, please feel free to check out my other videos.